Today we are going to be solving polynomial equations in factor form, and most of the equations that we're going to cover we are going to be actually quadratic equations. So go ahead and take the time to write down your title. Then you should have your cutout at this point, so go ahead and glue it, and then write example number 1, A and B, and we'll start once you guys are ready. Okay, go ahead and pause it, and we'll start once you're ready. Excellent. So today we are going to cover section 7.4, solve polynomial equations in factor form. And most of the equations that we're going to solve are mostly quadratics. That is, we're going to have an x squared. A polynomial is in factor form when it's written as a product of factor. So we've already worked on factoring, and we usually start with standard form when we have a trinomial, and we factor it. Therefore, that's factor form. We're also going to cover this type when we have a binomial and they both have an x, and we're going to factor out the common factor, the common term. So this is standard form and this will be factor form. Now, when one side of an equation is a polynomial in factor form and the other side is 0, such as this part, then we're going to use something that we call the zero product property to solve a polynomial equation. The solutions of polynomial equation are called roots. So roots are going to be the solutions. So in Algebra 1, sometimes you say the solutions, sometimes you call them roots, other times you call them zeros, but it'll be exactly the same thing. Sometimes we call them x-intercepts, which is the same thing. So this is going to be the process for today. We are going to have an equation. So now we have a trinomial with an equal sign, so that's an equation. And we are going to factor the same way that we did on 7.1. And once we have it in factor form, we're going to use the zero product property. We basically are going to take the first x plus 4 and we're going to place it equal to 0. And the second factor, x minus 2, we're going to place it equal to 0. Because whenever you have, and the reason that this works is that if you have two numbers that are multiplied together and they're equal to 0, and they tell you that the first number is 5, 5 times a number equal to 0. What should be that number? Correct, it should be a 0. Or if you have a number multiplied by 5, what should be this number? A number times 5 equal to 0. What is the number? 0. So therefore, whenever you have two numbers that are multiplied together and equal to 0, they can also both be 0. 0 times 0 is 0. So one of them can be 0, the other can be 0, or both of them can be 0. So therefore, whenever they're multiplying, x plus 4 and x minus 2 are multiplying, and if they're equal to 0, I can place one of them equal to 0, or the other equal to 0, and I'm going to end up with my solutions. Move that 4 to the right, becomes a negative 4. That's my first solution. Move that 2 to the right, becomes a positive 2, and that'll be my second solution. So my solutions, sometimes we're going to call them roots, depending on the use. But let's go through example number 1, so we can start the process. A and B. At this point, you should have written it down. So we are going to factor. It's already equal to 0. So I'm not going to factor, place my double parentheses, 1, 2. What are the factors of 3x squared? Factors of 3x squared will be 3x times x. What are the factors of 4? I can use 4 times 1 or 2 times 2. Which one do you guys want to use? 2 times 2? Perfect. So I'll place a 2 and a 2 and positive on both. When I multiply my outside numbers and my inside numbers, they should add up to 8x. So let's see. 3x times 2 Now, instead of writing them down underneath, I'm going to write them down on the side because I'm going to have to continue this process underneath. So 3x times 2 will give me 6x. I'm going to multiply my inside numbers. 2 times x will give me positive 2x. If I add them together, does it give me 8x? Yes. Now, some of you guys are saying, no, do I need to write this down? You should, because you want to make sure that you add up to 8x. And now this is equal to 0. Now that since they're multiplying, I'm going to use my 0 product property. I'm going to use my t-chart. That means that 3x plus 2 will be equal to 0, or x plus 2 equal to 0. One or the other should be 0, or both of them, just like we have here. One or the other should be 0, or both of them should be 0. So now I'm trying to find out what is the value that will make this a 0. A number plus 2 equal to 0. What is the number? Correct, negative 2. Or we can just say that we solve it. Move the 2 to the right. It's a positive, we can say negative. So therefore x equal to negative 2. That's my first solution. Again, I'm looking for a number. 3 times the number plus 2 equal to 0. What is the number? We actually just solve it. So it's to find the value of x that will make this a 0. So move my 2 to the right, we can say negative 2. So we have 3x equal to negative 2. I'm going to divide by 3. Divide by 3. My 3's cancel, so therefore x equal to negative 2 over 3. And we're going to leave it as a fraction. You don't need to convert it to a decimal. And that is the process that we are working on today. Remember that we have already done part of this. We have already done the factor form. The factory. We just didn't call it factor form. So now we're just doing an extra step where we place each one equal to 0, and then we can solve individually. Let's try the next problem. Letter B. We have an equation, so therefore I need to solve. I'm going to use my double parentheses. 1, 2. What are the factors of 5x squared? That'll be 5x times x. What are the factors of negative 12? Positive 12. So the factors of positive 12 will be 3 times 4, 6 times 2, or 12 and 1. When I multiply my outside numbers and I multiply my inside numbers, it should add up to a negative 16. So which one do you guys want to use? And at this point, it should be a little easier to see which one to use. So let's try 3 and 4. Is that going to work out? There's only one way to find out. 3 and 4. But they need to add up to a negative 16, so they both should be negative. This is negative 12x. I'm going to write down on the side now, because I need to use the bottom part. And negative 3 times x will be negative 3x. Oh. And what did I do wrong? Yes, I can't multiply today, guys. So therefore, 5 times negative 4 is negative 20x. Negative 3 times x is negative 3x. Does it add up to negative 16? No. So therefore, I'm going to switch them around. And I know at this point some of you guys already have a factor. But let me just go through the process. So I'll put my 4 in here and my 3 here. And I have 5x times negative 3 will be negative 15x. Negative 4 times x will be negative 4x. If I add them together, does it give me a negative 16? No. So therefore I'm going to use, which one should I use next? 6 and 2? Perfect. So I'm going to try 6 and 2. And they both should be negative because they need to add up to a negative 16. So that gives me a negative 10x and negative 6x. Negative 10x minus 6x, that's to give me negative 16. Perfect. So those are the ones I'm going to use. And now that I have a factor, I know that this is an equation equal to 0. So now I can use my zero product property. I'm going to use my t-chart. Because they're multiplying and they equal to 0, I know that either this one equal to 0, that one equal to 0, or both. So therefore I'm going to place 5x minus 6 equal to 0 and x minus 2 equal to 0. And I can solve each one. Move my 6 to the right. We can say positive. 5x equal to 6. Divide by 5. Divide by 5. My 5's cancel, so therefore x equal to 6 over 5. You can leave it as an improper fraction. You don't need to change to a mixed fraction. You don't need to change to a decimal. You can reduce it possible, but in this case you can't. I'm going to solve the second equation. Move my 2 to the right. It's a negative, we can say positive. So therefore, those are my two solutions. So remember that we have already done this part. Now we are using our zero product property, making each one equal to 0 and solving each one separately, and that's our solution. Those are called roots as well. And you guys will see more of this word roots in Algebra 2. But for now, we can call them the solution or the roots. C and D. So go and copy them down and we'll work them out together. Go and pause it. Excellent. So we have a trinomial that we need to factor out so we can solve it. It's already equal to 0. I'm going to use my double parenthesis. And now, what are the factors of x squared? X squared will be x times x. What are the factors of 20? I can use 5 times 4, 2 times 10, or 20 times 1. Whenever I multiply my outside numbers and I multiply my inside numbers, they should add up to a negative 12x. So therefore I need to decide which ones to use. So which one should I use? My 2 and 10. 2 and 10. Now they need to add up to a negative 12, so they both should be negative. Let me double check. I'm going to check and I'm going to write down on the left to make sure that they're correct. X times negative 10 will be negative 10x. Negative 2 times x is negative 2x. If I add them, does it give me a negative 12x? Perfect. Now I'm going to use my zero product property, my t-chart. I'm going to place my x minus 2 equal to 0 and my x minus 10 equal to 0. Since they're multiplying and they're equal to 0, I know that either one or the other or both should be 0. I'll move my 2 to the right. It's a negative 2 becomes a positive 2. That's my first solution. That is my first root. I'm going to move my 10, negative 10 to the right. It's a negative becomes a positive. So therefore I have x equal to 10. And that'll be my second solution. Remember, we can call them roots, but for now we can call them solution. So now try example D and see what you get. Go and pause it, write down, and then we can compare our solutions. Excellent. So let's see. I have a trinomial, 1, 2, 3. So therefore I need to use my double parenthesis. 1, 2. What are the factors of 2x squared? That'll be 2x times x. What are the factors of positive 6? So I can use 6 times 1 or 2 times 3. Remember that only one combination will work. When you multiply your outside numbers, and your inside numbers, they need to add up to a negative 7x. So which ones do you guys get? Correct. You probably place your 2 over here because that gives you 4, and your 3 here because that gives you 3. And they need to add up to a negative 7, so they both should be negative. But you want to make sure that you check. 2x times negative 2 is negative 4x. Negative 3 times x is negative 3x. If you add them together, that's to give you a negative 7x. Perfect. So now remember that we are solving equal to 0. And now we're going to use our zero product property or t-chart. They're both multiplying and they equal to 0. So I know that either one or the other or both should be 0. So 2x minus 3 equal to 0. So solving is a very quick process. Move the 3 to the right, we can say positive 3. And divide by 2. And divide by 2. So therefore x equal to 3 over 2. And if you want, you can leave as an improper fraction for these problems. Most of the time you'll see that as your answer. Move the 2 to the right, we can say positive 2. And those are your two solutions. So remember that we had already done, I know I keep saying this over and over again, had already done the first step. We did that last week. And now we're just solving one extra step. Easy as that. But let's go over other ways of factoring. Let's write this down. Go ahead and pause it, write this down, and then we can start on this factoring binomials. Write down A, B, and C. Excellent. So now notice that it is the first time that we have factoring that we have a binomial. We have two terms. So I need to take out the common factor. So I need to decide, is there a number that divides 2 and 6? Correct, 2. Since they both have an x, I can take out an x. So they both have a 2 in common, and they both have an x, so I'm taking out the common factor. And I need to think, 2x multiplied by what will give me 2x squared? 2x times x. And 2x multiplied by what will give me a 6x? 2x times 3. And I should take the time to check. 2x times x is 2x squared. 2x times 3 is 6x. And that's it. So that is a different way of factoring. And that is when you have a binomial or other times as well when you can take a common factor. But for now, we're going to keep it simple so that way when you guys go to Algebra 2, you guys can learn other methods and more complex problems. Letter B, I need to take out the common factor. Well, this one doesn't have a number, so I cannot factor out a number. But I notice that they both have an x, so I can take out an x. I'm going to factor out an x. X multiplied by what will give me x squared? X times x. X multiplied by what will give me 5x? X times 5. And I don't need another x because whenever I multiply x times x, that's 2x's, x squared. X times 5 will give me 5x. And this is factoring. When we take out a common factor. Taking out a common factor, it's an easy process. Try letter C. See what you get, and we can compare our answers. Go and pause it. Excellent. So I need to take out a common factor. Is there a number that divides 10 and 15? Correct. 5. Do they both have an x? Yes, so I can take out an x. Remember, in the first chapter, we took out only a common factor or a number. That was 0.3, I believe. Now we're taking out the x as well. 5x multiplied by what will give me 10x squared? So 5 times 2 will give me 10. I have an x here and I need 2 x's, so I need another x. So 5x times 2x is 10x squared. 5x multiplied by what will give me negative 15x? 5x times negative 3. So 5x times 2x is 10x squared. 5x times negative 3 is negative 15x. So that will take us to example number 3. Solving those type of equations. Go and write it down, and then we can start working on the first problem. Go and pause it. Excellent. I'm going to factor this out. So now I only have 2 numbers before the equal sign. So I need to take out the common factor. We no longer have 3 where we have the double parenthesis. So one number divides 4 and also divides 10. Okay. 2. Do they both have an x? Yes, so I can take out a 2 and an x. So 2x times what is 4x squared? 2x times 2x. 2x times what will give you 10x? 2x times positive 5 equal to 0. I should take the time to make sure that it works. 2x times 2x is 4x squared. 2x times 5 will be 10x. Perfect. And now we are going to use our zero product property. I know that they're both multiplying and they're equal to 0, so I know that either one or the other equal to 0 or both. So I'll place this 2x equal to 0 and 2x plus 5 equal to 0. And I'm going to solve each of the equations separately. To solve for x, I need to get rid of the 2. The 2 is multiplied, so I'm going to divide by 2 on both sides. My 2's cancel, so therefore x is equal to 0 is one of my solutions. The 0 will make this statement true. Next, I'm going to move my 5 to the right to solve this equation. That gives me 2x equal to negative 5. Divide by 2, divide by 2. The 2's cancel, so therefore x equal to negative 5 over 2. And you can leave it as an improper fraction. Those are our solutions for the quadratic equation. Letter B. I need to take a common factor. This one does not have a number. And this one has a 6, so I cannot take out a number. But they both have an x, so I can factor out an x. So x, open my parenthesis, x multiplied by what will give you x squared? X times x. X multiplied by what will give you 6x? X times positive 6. I no longer need an x in here because the x is going to come from here. And now, zero product property. I'm going to multiply. I'm going to make each one equal to 0. Since they're multiplying and they're equal to 0, I know that either x equal to 0 or x plus 6 equal to 0 in order for that to be true. And now, this is my first solution. I don't need to solve for x. It's already solved. On the second one, I'm going to move my 6 to the right. Is it positive? We can say negative 6. Those are my 2 solutions. So try letter C. See what you get and we compare our answers. Go and pause it and try letter C. Excellent. So at this point, is there a number that divides 6 and 12? The biggest number that divides 6 and 12. Correct. 6. Do they both have an x? Yes, so I can take out 1x. What's left behind? 6x times x will give you 6x squared. 6x times negative 2. Now that I factor, I know that 6x times x is 6x squared. 6x times negative 2 is negative 12. That's fine. I'm going to use my zero product property. Since they're multiplying and they're equal to 0, I know that either one or the other or both should be 0. Should be equal to 0. So therefore divide by 6, divide by 6. My 6 cancels, so therefore x equal to 0. Move my negative 2 to the right, we can say positive 2. So those are my 2 solutions. And the last example for today. The last example basically will just give you just example 4a. So it's kind of time to recall what we learned so far. Go and write down and then We'll start. Go and pause it. Excellent. So for this one, I want you guys to start noticing the difference between each of the problems. Because they do look very similar. They both have an x squared, they both have an x, an equal sign, and a 0. Except for this one does have a number, a constant. So how do we factor this out? Because it's already equal to 0, so I just need to be able to use my double parenthesis. And what are the factors of 2x squared? That'll be 2x times x. What are the factors of 10? I can use 2 times 5 or 10 times 1. Whenever I multiply my outside numbers and my inside numbers, they should add up to a negative 9x. So therefore, let's see, and at this point, a lot of you guys are getting very good at factoring. You can think ahead. So what number should I place in here? Correct, I should place a 2, because that gives you 4. And I'll place my 5. 5 times 2 is 10. And they need to add up to a negative 9, so they both should be negative. That gives you a negative 4x, negative 5x. If I add them together, does it give me a negative 9? Correct, that works. And now I'm going to solve it, so I'm going to use my zero product property. I'll place either 2x minus 5 will be 0, or x minus 2 is equal to 0. Move my 5 to the right. Is a negative becomes a positive. Divide by 2. Divide by 2. So therefore x equal to 5 over 2. Move my 2 to the right, becomes a positive 2. And those are my solutions. Remember that you can leave it as an improper fraction. Letter B. Let's go and take out the common factor, because this is only 2 terms. So what number divides 4 and 6? 2. Do they both have an x? Yes, so I need to take out a 2 and an x. And what's left behind? 2x multiplied by what will give you 4x squared? So 2x times 2x. 2x multiplied by what will give you 6x? 2x times positive 3. And now I'm going to use my zero product property. Let's see, does it work? 2x times 2x is 4x squared. 2x times 3 is 6, yes. So I can use my zero product property, my t-chart. I know that either one of them should be 0. Either 2x should be 0 or 2x plus 3 should be 0. So 2x equal to 0 or 2x plus 3 equal to 0. Divide by 2. Divide by 2. X equal to 0. Move my 3 to the right, becomes a negative 3. So it'll be 2x equal to negative 3. Divide by 2. Divide by 2. X equal to negative 3 over 2. So see if you can determine the difference between each one and work on the last 2 problems. And then you can start on your own work. So everybody is trying letter C, letter D. So you're going to copy it down and then try it by yourselves. Go ahead and pause it, and then we can start once everybody's done. Or once most people are done. Excellent. So I'm going to go a little faster since we've done quite a few. Notice that this one does not have a number, so I cannot factor a number. But I can factor a x since they both have an x. X multiplied by what gives you x squared? X times x. X multiplied by what will give you 3x? So x times positive 3. And now, because they are multiplying and they equal to 0, I know that either one or the other are equal to 0. So I'm going to use my zero product property, my t-chart. X equal to 0 or x plus 3 equal to 0. This is already solved. Now I'm going to move my 3 to the right, becomes a negative 3. So x equal to negative 3. So those are my 2 solutions for this equation, this quadratic equation. Letter B. I have 3 terms, so therefore I know that I need to use my double parentheses. Factors of 2x squared will be 2x times x. Factors of 20, I can use 5 times 4 2 times 10, or 20 times 1, or 1 times 20. So which one did you guys use? Correct. You guys use 5 and 4. 5 and 4. And they need to add up to a positive 13. So they both should be positives. Because this will give you a 8x, and 5 more x will give you 13x. And I know that some of you guys are not writing it on the side, which is fine at this time, because you guys already had enough practice. But it has to be correct, and you have to double check. 2x times 4 will give you 8x and 5x. So that works. Zero product property. I'll place either 2x plus 5 equal to 0, or x plus 4 should be equal to 0. Move my 5 to the right, becomes a negative 5. So I have 2x equal to negative 5. Divide by 2, divide by 2. So therefore x equal to negative 5 over 2. Move my 4 to the right, becomes a negative 4. So that will conclude the lesson for today. Have a great day, and I'll see you guys next time.